The Treasury are going to investigate the impact of bank branch closures. A review is going to be led by Richard Lloyd, who was the executive director at Which, the consumer group. And the government will investigate the impact of more than 6,700 bank branch closures on communities across the UK and look at whether banks need to be forced to provide face-to-face services. Now, the Treasury announced this review last week. It will gather evidence on what effect the bank branch closures have had, who's most affected, and whether further action is required. It aims to report by October, by the way, if you're interested in timescales, and it will look at whether the Treasury need to act swiftly to support intervention on banking services. We can help the review out this hour, by the way. We haven't got an awfully long time, but if it's something that's really affected you with regards to those bank branch closures and what the situation is like near you, then do give me a call and tell me, because that lack of face-to-face appointment, I think in particular, is something that really does irk with people. Let's speak now with Ron Delnevo, who is chair of the Payment Choice Alliance and joins me now. Ron, good to see you there. Thanks for joining us. Clearly this is something you've been campaigning on for some time. Are you pleased that there's going to be at least some sort of semi-official review into it?
Well, it's a bit late.
Well, yeah. Because
as you mentioned, we've lost thousands of branches. Actually, we've lost 2 branches a day since 2015.
Oh, wow.
So there are thousands of communities around the country that may have had 1 bank branch, or they could have had 5, and they've lost them all. And so those communities have been stripped of face-to-face financial services. So, yes, I do welcome the investigation, and I hope Richard Lloyd does a good job. But 6 months to do the job isn't long, because there's a lot of people you'll need to talk to and a lot of communities you'll have to look at. So hopefully we can get some real progress on this, because people do want these face-to-face services and they've been deprived of them by the bank branch closures.
Something I hear an awful lot about from the government and from politicians in particular is, yes, they absolutely acknowledge what you say about 2 branches a day closing since 2015, but they point now to these banking hubs. For those who haven't got one near them, explain what they are, and is that something you would like to see pop up across more parts of the UK?
Well, there are about 250 or 60 banking hubs open now, but as you said, we've lost thousands of bank branches, probably actually 8,000 or 9,000 in the last 10 years. So 250 to replace 8,000 or 9,000 bank branches isn't enough. We have told the government, I had meetings with the Treasury quite a long time ago, that they need at least 1,200 of those banking hubs. But the other thing is that they are not fully equipped. They don't do the full job. 95% of them don't have ATMs, especially 24/7 ATMs. So although they say you can get cash there, only 9 to 5, 5 days a week. What about weekends? What about the evenings?
Yeah.
And also there's no real face-to-face banking where people can get advice on estate administration, loans, financial difficulties, fraud and so on. There's not enough of that. So what we need is proper face-to-face banking. So yes, banking hubs are a good idea, but we need far more of them, at least 1,000 more than are currently planned. And we also need them to be properly equipped with equipment like 24/7 ATMs and have genuine face-to-face banking advice and detailed banking advice available on the premises.
Yeah. And financial literacy is obviously a big topic at the moment, and it's, there's often that debate about how well it's taught or perhaps not in schools. If you look at the sort of general face-to-face interaction of going into a bank, whenever we have these conversations, Ron, and I have to say I'm someone who's sympathetic with your view on this, but there are those who say, well, I'm in my 20s, I've never, ever had to go into a banking branch. There's no reason to. Times are a-changing. Do we really need to sort of hark back to the days of having a Santander, NatWest, etc. on our local high street?
Well, we're not going to go back to that.
Well, clearly.
Banking hubs are a unified solution where it doesn't require individual banks to put branches back. But the reality is, yes, there are people in their 20s, but there's also over 13 million people in this country over 65, and their views may well be different to people in their 20s. So are we going to forget about them? Equally, we say, go online or use your smartphone. 4 million people in this country, 4 million adults don't have smartphones. So we've got to find solutions options for everyone. Nobody can be locked out of our society, or our society isn't doing a job for every citizen, which it should be doing.
Yes, OK. And lastly, we're clearly not going to reverse this. Is the best hope, then, banking hubs? And I remember hearing the head of Metro Bank sometimes saying that he, and I don't know if this is still the case, by the way, but he had certainly paused banks closing on high streets. Do you think we will get back to that point where banks do realise that they need to keep the last few shops alive, and that we will see an expansion of these banking hubs?
Oh, we'll definitely see an expansion of the banking hubs if Richard Lloyd does his job. You know, we've told the government for years we need at least 1,200, and it's probably a higher number now because the bank branch closure programmes have been disastrous for communities. But the bottom line is that this isn't about going back. This is about communities. Communities aren't things of the past. Communities are alive and well and can actually prosper if they are properly equipped to give the services, the retailing, the banking and so on that people need. So we're not talking about some desire to return to the age of the cavemen or dinosaurs. We're talking about making communities work for real live people today. And that's what we need to see out of this work by Richard Lloyd for the Treasury.
Thank you, Ron. Ron Delnevo is chair of the Payment Choice Alliance.